Got a pretty good lesson tonight if it'll come out like I want it to. We talked about the Hebrew text a few times, and I told you the oldest text that was known to exist, the oldest Hebrew text, was the Aleppo text. I'm going to read it to you, just a little short page about that, because I've had several of you. I can't remember who asked me the text. The problem here a while back was it you? You asked me the text. That's a question about the Aleppo text. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about it here. The Aleppo Codex. This was published January the 5th, 2011. The Aleppo Codex was the most revered copy of the Hebrew Scriptures and the foundation of the Masoretic Hebrew text. It was written about 930 A.D. in Tiberias. By the way, Tiberias was a kind of a stronghold of Hebrew culture. Basically, they ran them out of Jerusalem. And after they ran them out of Jerusalem, what they call the Jerusalem commentary, all of that was supposed to have been written in Tiberias. Okay? 930 in Tiberias on the Sea of Galilee by a scribe named Shlomo ben Boyah. The Masorite scribe Aharon ben Ashur added the vowels and the cantillation marks and the Masoretic notes. And boy, did they fight over this. At that time, for 1,000 years, they fought over this. I mean, they had schools just about destroyed all of they just kept saying, they did not want any vowel markings in the Hebrew text. They said that the Hebrew text had to be pure without any vowel markings like the uncials in Greek, with no vowel markings, no breaks in Scripture, nothing. That's the way they said God gave it to us. That's the way they did it. Anyway, this was the first one that they made with, they started using the vowel markings in it, okay? And it was a great controversy. Aharon ben Ashur was a Masoret scribe, and his work was unparalleled in proficiency and expertise. The greatest medieval authority on Jewish law, Maimonides, in 1138 to 1204 A.D., referred to the Aleppo Codex when he wrote his Mishnah Torah. For many years, it remained the property of Ben Ashur. In 1099, it was seized by the Crusader conquerors of Jerusalem. It appears briefly at a synagogue near Cairo, Egypt, where Maimonides used it. Now, again, even the Christian Crusaders did not like the Jews because they were so Adamically, they hated Jesus. They have. And they just denied him, and so the Christian Crusaders just ran the Jews off because they said, well, you know, you people are the ones that crucified the Messiah, and of course they did. All right. It appears briefly in a synagogue near Cairo, Egypt, where Maimonides used it. In the end of the 15th century, it is in a synagogue in Syria, Aleppo. It remained there for about 600 years until December the 1st, 1947. 2 days before, on November the 29th, 1947, the UN passed a two-thirds vote to the resolution to partition the Holy Land, thus creating a Jewish state for the first time in almost 2,000 years. Also, on the exact same day, the Hebrew University professor Shuknek bought the first 3 Dead Sea Scrolls and took them to Jerusalem. It is nothing short of a miraculous that the 2,000-year-old Isaiah scroll, which prophesied the return of Israel to her land, surfaced on exactly the same day that the Jewish sovereignty was reestablished. Within 2 days, however, anti-Jewish riots broke out in the Arab world. All 5 Arab nations actually wanted to attack Israel at the same time. They were going to do away with it. They weren't going to let them back in the land, including Aleppo, Syria. The 1,000-year-old Aleppo Codex of Aharon ben Ashur, known as the Crown, was destroyed by rioters who destroyed the great synagogue in Syria. Though through the years, fragments of the Aleppo Codex, this is what you asked me, have been found, and the Israeli Museum carefully collects them, trying to reconstruct the great Aleppo Codex. All right, it says now, if you want to know any more about this, go to... there's an article called The Shouted Crown, the Aleppo Codex, from September 2008 issue of the Biblical Archaeology Review also. And you can also go to the website www.lipocodex.org if you want to know any more about that, okay? Thought I'd bring that to you and answer your question at the same time, young lady. All right, 26 and verse 10. Genesis 26 and verse 10. We have quite a deal here with old Yitzchak. Yitzchak, I think maybe the Lord, now this is jokingly speaking, sometimes tongue-in-cheek, wish that he'd have chosen Ishmael instead of Yitzchak. Because Isaac just absolutely has very few good, strong Christian character as far as that goes. He's always been a problem. His wife seems to be more spiritual than he. All right? Well, here we are. Wyomer, Abimelech, Ma, Zot, Asita, Lanu, Kimat, Shakov, Achad, Ha'am, Et, Ishtika, Wehiveta, Alinu, Asham. And said Abimelech, what this? What this? You have done to us. Now remember what's going on here? He took Rebekah. Rebekah had kids. She has twins already. She's already a married woman. She's already had children. He dresses her up like a non-virgin. Remember we did one lesson on the dress code of a virgin. She is not dressed like a virgin. She has got her nose ring out of her nose. She's got her veil off of her face for the whole world to see her face hanging out. And she's pretty. Okay? And so they want to take her for their wife, and you know, here he sees this woman, she's available, and they did a lot of political marriages back then. A lot of political marriages took place, okay? And so he decides to purchase her, and Yitzchak tells him, of course, she is my sister, like his daddy did. Okay, just like daddy, like son. All right, same old story. Adamic nature, the Adamic nature. What have you done to us, Lanu? Kimat, almost. He had laid one of the people. Eth, your wife. You would have brought upon us guilt, sin, offense. Sin, guilt, and offense against whom? God. It was not according, remember, the law of Hammurabi, remember that one? The law? Okay. This law here was the law of the land. They had certain rules that they went according to, that if they had rules and regulations. All right? 26 and verse 11 now. What saw Abimelech? What does Abimelech mean? Father of the king. All right. Abimelech et kol ha'am lemor hano giv baish hazeh yuvishto miot yuma. All right. And he commanded Abimelech all the people. Now he's the king. He turns around to all the people. Now here is the preacher, not Yitzchak, but Abimelech. All right. Who was the administrator of God's kingdom at this time? His whole administrator of all of his kingdom. Who was the administrator? Yitzchak. That's right. Just remember now, here is the administrator of God's kingdom on earth, right here. And this unbeliever, so-called, this one out of covenant relationship with God, is preaching in place of him. Lemor, saying, Hanageh, on the one touching the man, this, and his Ubi Ishto, and his wife, his woman, dying, he shall be killed. Dying, he shall be killed. He shall keep on being made to die. April the 14th, 1912. April the 14th, 1912, some great disaster happened. Remember what that was? Anybody remember? Anybody around back then? Yeah, it was the Titanic. Well, you know, they had all kinds of movies. You know, Leonardo DiCaprio did a movie on the Titanic, and it showed all what happened on that Titanic. There's a lot of stories about it. But there was an officer all dressed up in all of his finery up in the control room of the Titanic, and someone had sighted icebergs in the Atlantic. And they were trying to get a hold of him. They kept calling over and over and over again. And he was over there playing with a ham radio, trying to make contacts. And the phone kept ringing. The radio kept going over there, trying to get a hold of him. And he just, leave me alone. I'm busy over here playing around. He was all dressed up, and he was responsible for 1,600 people's, well, everyone that was on the boat. He was responsible for all their lives. What did he do? He finally goes over there, and he answers the phone, and they says, iceberg straight ahead. But it was too late. He fooled around too long. He was in charge, and that man was responsible for all the people's lives that died on that ship. He was responsible for all the people that died on that ship. This morning we talked about the last one of the parables of Matthew 13. We talked about a church in the hands of an angry God. This church, in the church age that we live in today, the church of Laodicea, are the administrators of God's kingdom today. We are responsible to hold and carry out the truth, like Isaac was in this time. Isn't it funny how the lessons just go one right after the other? How when you're studying the Word of God, just go from one right to the other. This morning was a step just right on to this one. This man blew it. And God, the integrity of the Scriptures is just unparalleled in history. If you had somebody in your family that did something bad, a lot of times family will just kind of cover it up. Not your family. My family did. They try to cover things up a little bit. Especially if you're in politics. They cover things up. But what if you were God, and this is the Bible and the history of His administrators? When they did something wrong, you would leave it out. I would. But God put it all down there. That's the integrity of the Scriptures right there. That's the integrity of the Scriptures. And here we have. Now we have a man in the hands of an angry God, and here we have an unbeliever angry because the man of God didn't do what he's supposed to be doing. He calls him on the carpet. And again, he sends him off. Sends him off. Just like Pharaoh did Abraham, just like the other king Abimelech sent Abraham off. Now he gets rich. All right, he gets rich. Ungodly rich man. All right, 26 and verse 12. Why Yisra? Yitzchak. Ba'aretz. Hahu. Why Yimsu? Or Yimsa, that is. Bash Shana. Hahu. Miah. Sha'arim. That's almost like Sharon, isn't it? Why? Barak Kihu. And then we have the name of God here. We'll call it Ha-the-Bar. And sowed Isaac. All right, and kept on sowing Isaac in land. Ba'aretz, in the land. That. And he kept on finding in year that 100 measures. And blessed him Jehovah. This is God-man. God's going to bless him. He's going to bless him. He's going to just think about all down through the years. Think about Israel now. Israel crucified their Messiah, did they not? Did they not call and demand the death of their Messiah king? But God has kept his promise to Abraham. I don't care what they did in the world. No matter where they went, they made lots of money. God said he would bless them, didn't he? Godly rats, but they are being blessed. It says the rain falls on the wicked and on the just and the wicked. It's the life. When I went into the land of Israel, Palestine, in 1975 and 76, I talked to a few Arabs over there, and they said it's good for the land that the Jews walk on it. The land produces. It didn't produce before, it produces, because God blesses them. Wherever they have done, the Jews have gotten in a lot of trouble. They got in a lot of trouble in Germany. Did you know that? How many of you really studied the history of Germany, what was going on all that time? We had World War I in Germany. After World War I, Germany, the Kaiser, you know, they thumped on Germany pretty good. They won the war, the Allied forces of Europe. This was, by the way, this is World War number one. This is when almost all the nations in the world are together. Okay? The Jews were, one of the strongholds of the Jews was in Germany. Okay? That's where we got a lot of traditions and everything. That's where we got a lot of the traditions of the rabbinical writings and everything was out of those Jews that were in Germany. Well, the world kind of put their thumb down on Germany. Just really rubbed their nose in it. And they are technically brilliant people. Just technically brilliant. Isn't that right, Cindy? They're beautiful, real smart people. They are brilliant. They are pure Japhethites, you know. I mean, spreading. They would take all of the Hamite inventions and they would improve it and perfect them, and they did. Well, between World War I and about the 1930s, the Jews had control of all the banks and all the money. And they were just rubbing the Germans the wrong way, so to speak. And they had it in for them because they were manipulating the money in the world in all reality. The Rothschilds, you know a little bit about that, okay? They were doing some pretty rough things to the world. Well, Hitler comes on the scene, and since Martin Luther called for the destruction of the Jews and putting them in death camps and work camps and all that kind of stuff, he decided, well, we're going to thrash the Jews, and we're going to take our country back over, and we're going to get our nationalistic pride. And if you could just listen to German and hear Hitler's speeches, that's what he's doing. We're going to take our land back. We're going to be accounted for as a force in the world again. That was the whole thing, and the people got behind him. Well, the Jews got thumped up pretty good. God allowed Hitler to come on the scene. He used all the little things. He allows all this. It's what you call his permissive will. Why did they make all this money, and why did God allow this all the way down through that? These are the people that killed and murdered their Messiah. Why didn't they get like John Calvin and Augustine and Martin Luther called for? Why didn't God allow them to be destroyed? Because he has a promise to this man right here and to Abraham. That's why. It's what we call an unconditional promise, Brother Harry. The Abrahamic covenant is an unconditional covenant. We are blessed today through Abraham, through Isaac, okay? We're blessed through them. That's how we have the spiritual blessing that they have. The greatest writings, the greatest scholars in all time were the Germans. Cindy, they were. The writings were just unsurpassed. You want to read some real wonderful thing, you read writings by Eric Sauer. You want some heavenly blessings. You know who Eric Sauer is? You've heard of it. The Dawn of World Redemption, The Triumph of the Crucified. Read, I think there's 5 books. The King of the Heaven and the Earth. You read some of those, talk about tremendous theology. All right? Well, God allowed them to gather up all this money and everything so they'd have a lot of political clout in the world. You find out what's running Wall Street today. You find out that this is them. They had so much control over America that Franklin Roosevelt told those Jews in Wall Street, he said, if you don't turn loose of that money, I'll strike new money. I'll make your money worth nothing. And in the tribulation period, if you want to know what's going to happen in the tribulation period, the Jews are going to be under a lot of control again in the world. God allowed the Jews to continue to exist because of the Abrahamic covenant, but they're going to buy their land back. That's what we talked about in the Aleppo Codex. There's a little bit of history there. They would buy it back. And they had tremendous control. The greatest scientists in the world were German Jews. German Jews. Think about it. Why did God allow them? Einstein, why did he allow all of this to happen? Because in the end times, he's going to just allow it to flow just like it did. That's what he did. All right. And Jehovah blessed him, and he continues to bless the Jewish people today, even though they are unbelievers, because he has got a plan. See that plan up there? He's going to lower the boom on them. Because he is going to use them, and they're going to be administrators of his kingdom like they were supposed to be all this time. If they would have accepted Jesus Christ, would he have allowed them to bring in his kingdom? If they would have. Of course. But they didn't. They didn't accept their king because he wasn't on their grounds, on their platform. 26 and verse 13. Vayigdal, Haish, Vayelek, Haluk, Vigadel, Ad, Ki Gadal, Miod. And he kept on becoming great, the man. And he kept on walking and going and walking and becoming great and having become great until, because he became great exceedingly. What's this tell you here? God is blessing him, and he's becoming very rich. Just getting richer and richer and richer and richer and powerful and more powerful and more powerful and more powerful. Right? But still, remember Yitzchak's character. Remember his character. This morning we talked about a church in the hands of an angry God. You remember in 1700 and something, Jonathan Edwards preached a sinner in the hands of an angry God. We went to the 12th chapter of the book of Hebrews today, and we talked about discipline, how God disciplines him. What did God do to Isaac? What did God have to do to Isaac to get his plans? He had to blind the man. He had to blind him. Because he would have chosen the wrong son. He would have given the heirship to the wrong son. He would have made him the spiritual heir of Israel when he wasn't worthy of it. His mama knew what was right. See, sometimes girls are right. He became great. But God kind of corrected him. When we are corrected by God, we ought to thank God for every blow that we get. We ought to. We ought to thank God for every blow that he does. He spanks us along, correcting us, guiding us in his pathway. Because, you know why? Because when he spanks us, we know we're his. We know we're his. Isn't that beautiful? We know we're his. Brother Don, nobody else has a right to correct your children but you. And all right. Same thing with you, Chris. You're the mom and daddy. You have the right to correct your children. Nobody else does that. Somebody else steps in and tries to correct your children, you'd probably get mad, wouldn't you? Yeah? Yeah. Beat them up in school or whatever. Marilyn now, she had a twin sister. And one time one of the teachers was being real mean to her sister. Boy, and I mean to tell you what, Marilyn is not a meek little mild person. I want to tell you that. If any of you think that she's meek and mild, you are mistaken. She may be nice, but boy, don't get her on the warpath. The teacher got on the warpath and she was up biting and a kicking and a screaming and hollering, "Leave my sister!" What was the teacher was being real mean to Marianne. Yeah? And you were fighting. That teacher didn't have a right to beat your sister like that. Yeah, didn't have a right. God has a right to correct us because we're His. No matter what happens to you, you need to say, "Thank you, Lord, for every blow that you get, for every stripe you get on your back." Why he? Lo, migne, son, you migne, bakar, see that? Bakar. Gordo vaca. You know what that means? Nobody knows Spanish around here, do you? Do you know Spanish? That's a fat cow. Okay, that's like a cow right here. Okay. Wa'a Buddha. Rabah. Waganu. Ota Pilistim. And kept on becoming to him possessions. All right? Mikneh. These are cattle, what we call portable possessions of flocks. These are small cattle, goats and sheep. Goats and sheep. And possessions. Portable property, cattle, whatever. Herds, large cattle. That word boker there, that means to plow, to break. That's like the break of the day, whatever, you know. Something that you can plow with. You can't plow very well with a goat. You can't plow very well with sheep, but you can plow with a cow. Okay? And household slaves. He was a slave owner. He was a slave owner. Household slaves. Many. Abba. And envied him, Waganu, and envied him and kept on envying and were really jealous in the PL stem. See that PL there? That means intensely, ravishly jealous of him, the Philistines. The Philistines. All right. The Philistines. They were very jealous. Now we're going to have a range war. We're going to have a water war and a range war here. There's been a lot of range wars and water wars over the years, hasn't there? Down through time. Range wars and waterfall. We call Habarot, Asher, Hafiru, Avde, Ave, Meme, Avraham, Avu, Timum, right? Philistine, why Malum, afar. All right. If you want to look up the word Philistines there, it's on page 814. See that, Cynthia? 814, way over yonder a little bit. That thing's got about 1,000 pages in it. 814. Might even have it marked there someplace. The Philistines. What do you see in there about Philistines? Can you see it?
The Philistines glad to slain by David, one slain by Absalom.
Yeah. That's all it says about these Philistines, all right? And all the wells, ha-barot, and all the wells which had dug the slaves of his father, that's Abraham's slaves, by the way, They had dug a lot of wells. Okay. Now these wells, I think Jacob's well is about 9 foot in circumference, if I remember right, something like that, and 100 and something feet deep. I've been there, drank water out of that Jacob's well. It's still there. It still flows up to a certain static level. There's water flowing into that well. And all of these wells are here, and they've been in the land for a long time. Remember, this is a dry, arid land. In the springtime, in early springtime, they have grass, and they have to move the cattle all the time. They may have to move the sheep to follow the grass. But they have to have water to water them. Okay, they have to have water to water them. And this is the watering sources for the sheep, because they drink a lot of water. A cow can drink 50 gallons of water today. Out here in these dairies, every cow is a 50-gallon water a day out there. Of course, these cattle aren't going to drink that much water, but all of them take water. So they have to have wells, or your animals will die. So now, the best way to get to a man, if you want to stop him and stop him from multiplying, is to stop up his water holes. Okay? And what did they do here? They the slaves of Abraham, the wells, and all the wells which Abraham's slaves had dug in the days of Abraham, his father, they obstructed, they stopped up, and look at that. What stem is that in, Cindy? PL stem. Boy, they violently did this, didn't they? They violently, third person corporal plural, PL, perfect. They had obstructed. They had stopped up. They threw rocks in them. They do everything they could do to them to stop them from getting water out of the wells, because they did not want them in the land. All right? Well, the word Palestine comes from Philistine. All right? The land of Palestine. This was their land, and they didn't want these people here. So they're going to stop it up, and they're going to have to go someplace else and take their cows and their sheep and their goats and whatever. Get out of our land. Go someplace else. We don't want you here. So they stopped up all of their water wells, the Philistines, and they filled them up with dirt. Filled them up with dirt. Wyomer, Abimelech, Ella, Yitzchak, Lik, Me'imanu, Ki, Atsamata, Mimanu, Meod. And kept on saying Abimelech, the father of the king. Remember, this is the guy that just got jerked around by Isaac a few times before. When he was supposed to be the spiritual advisor of the whole land, he is a crook. Unto Yitzchak, go, walk, get out from us. Get out of here. Keep on walking. Asking the singular cal imperative. Keep on walking from us, because you are a pilgrim, a stranger. You are not a permanent resident in our land. You are a stranger than we are. Much. You're a much a stranger to the land. But remember, Abraham had been in the land also. That's where the wells were. They were Abraham's land. They were Abraham's wells. And basically, when you drug a well, all the land around it, there was water rights to the well, okay? Water rights to the well. Wayelek, Misham, Yitzchak, Wayichan, Bana Chal, Garer, Wayishif, Sham. And kept on going from there, Yitzchak. And he kept on camping in Valley of Gerar. What does Gerar mean? Come on, guys. You remember what Gerar means? Sharon, you usually get an A+ every night. You didn't get this one? Brother Harry, you remember what Gerar means? Gerar. It means circle, doesn't it? Kind of like Galilee. What else? Cindy? Oh. It's a circle. That's where we get our word small coin from. Coins were metal, gold, or silver, or copper, or brass in a circle. That's what Gerar means. This is where they first coined money. All right, this is where they coined money, Gerar. And it dwelled and kept on dwelling there. All right, in this area called Circle. Here we go, water welling again. Now we go water welling. Wayisha, Yichak, Why Ya Chak Por. All right. Et Berot Hamayim Asher Haferu Bimei Abraham Avi Why Salemim Philistine Achare Niot Avram Yikra Lahen Shemot Kashim Shemot Asher Kara Lachen Avi. And he kept on returning Isaac and kept on searching out, digging, looking. When you dig for something, you look for it. Like a gold miner that is digging for gold. And when you're digging for water, you're searching for water. Searching for water. You dig in the ground. You'll find an area where you think there is water. There's an age-old trick, and it's called water witching. You ever heard of that? And it really isn't witching. It's not type witchcraft, so to speak. But you take a device. I had a friend that had a willow. He took willow branches, and he would go out there, and he showed me how to do this. And you could find, what? It works. You could go out, and you could find where water is. I went out there one time, and I found out what a water line was with it. Whoop, the thing goes down. Right there. I don't know how it works. Don't know how it works. The plumbers, when they used, now they got metal detectors, you know, I mean, all this fancy modern stuff. But they used to take two rods and they'd put them out there and it would dip right there where the water line was. Well, you can also do that looking for water sources in the ground. And they would go out and do a lot different things, and they would go and they'd start digging, then start searching. The word digging means searching. So they would be searching down in the ground, searching. They kept on searching. Et Berot, the wells, the waters, Hamayim, Asher, which they had dug in days of Abraham. Now they're going out there and they're going to dig up these wells. They're in here where they're not supposed to be again, you know. I mean, they're going out there. They're supposedly they're not supposed to be in this land because they have no permission to be in the land. They're going to run them out and all this. Of his father, Avi, and they had obstructed, violently stopped them up, the Philistines, after the death of Abraham. And he kept on calling to them names, like the names which he had to them, his father. In other words, what the names of these water wells were the same names that Abraham named them. Okay, they had places. Cold Springs, Indian Wells. You ever heard of these names? All right. All different. They're named about wells and springs. This is very important all the way through history. Like that. Waya Peru, Abdi, Yitzhak, Banachal, Wayimsu, Sham, Be'er, Mayim, Hayim. All right. And they kept on searching and they kept on digging, the slaves of Isaac, in valley. All right, in a valley, Banachal, in a valley, Wayimsu. And they found, they kept on finding their Be'er. Be'er means wells. It means a flowing well. You can stop it up. People have fought over water for millennia. For millennia. You could just go one story after another. One story after another where people have fought over water. In Fish Lake Valley, there was a man that came in here named Jim Boyce. He came in here and he bought 3 lands, 3 great big ranches with all the water rights in Fish Lake Valley almost. And out there was a lake that was for thousands of years, everybody had been swimming in this thing. All the bighorn sheep, the antelope, the elk, the deer, the wild horses would go down there and drink. And people would go swimming in it because it was a hot well. It was a hot lake. It had a warm spring coming into the bottom of it. Well, that's on my land, he said. So he fences off. So people would go cut the fence and they go swimming anyway. They go fishing. Man, there was some big fish in there. There's a picture on the website with me catching a bass this big in that lake. So he decided to do what the Philistines did. He goes out there and he gets a whole bunch of drilling mud. He's going to poison the waters with that. He dumps drilling mud all in the lake. He goes down there and pours cement in it. Just loads and loads and everything, and stops up the spring until the ground is totally poisoned. The horses are dying out there, looking, the wild horses, the bighorn sheep, the antelope and everything. They don't know where to go. So they start going out on ranchers, and people start shooting them and everything. Then he gets these men. He's, well, there's too many horses out here. So he gets these bunch of illegal aliens up there, and in the mansion on the Cord Ranch where he bought, he puts all of the illegal aliens in that mansion and trashes the place. I used to work there. He buys motorcycles for them, and they run the horses to death until they drop over. All this is going on. All this is going on. Over in the Orange Valley, you know the story about the Orange Valley. Water wars. A man went up there, a man by the name of Mulholland, William Mulholland. He went to work for the City of Los Angeles Water Company as a ditch tender. In 1904, Fred Eaton and J.B. Lippincott traveled to Yosemite Valley on a family camping trip, and they looked down through there, through the Owens Valley, and that was a lush, beautiful place. Beautiful place. They said, lots of water here. And all these ranchers, there was fruit trees and ranches all the way from one end of the Owens Valley to another. See, that's where I grew up, in that area. See, I know all about that. Beautiful area, and I saw the water wars there. In every toilet along 395, it says, flush twice, L.A. needs the water. They used to write that on the wall. They hated the L.A. Water and Power. They had gone up there, this man by the name of Eaton, he went up there and in 1905 began to purchase land for the city of Los Angeles. He gave the impression that he was working for the U.S. Reclamation Service on a public irrigation project. What he was doing, he was lying to the people. He went up there and he started buying up water rights, buying up land, and buying up farms. All up and down to there. Finally, he got it. In 1913, they had a 5-year project, and they finished it early. They were drilling through the highway reservoir and all this stuff. They ran that aqueduct down to Los Angeles and over the hill up there. Maryland's dad in 1913 went over there to watch them open the flume into the dam there. Remember the name of that dam? The dam? The St. Francis Dam. Mulholland designed and built that St. Francis Dam there. Remember that? Nope. And Marilyn's father went up there and watched them open the water into Los Angeles. Well, then people started pouring into Los Angeles. In March the 12th, 1928, the Mulholland Dam, it was not built sound, Mulholland, the St. Francis Dam broke. Again, Marilyn's dad. We watched a movie here, what was it, 10 years ago that we saw that news script? They had a news script of when the Mulholland Dam broke. And in that news script was her father out rescuing people. 500 people lost their lives. Yeah, we saw him just for a second, her dad standing in this newsreel, up there helping save these people's lives. It had just washed all this way, but it was greed, all greed and power, and there's been a lot of problems through the history of mankind with this. Mulholland finally went into self-imposed exile and stayed away from everybody else because he had caused so many people's lives. But that's not the half of it. If you go up to the Owens Valley, you'll find that the whole weather pattern of all the Owens Valley was changed. 2% of all the dust pollution in the world comes from the Owens Lake that used to be full of water. Mono Lake was going down. All of the streams that went into these, they were diverting it. And not only that, they went back up, they just kept going. And any ranch that they could buy, they bought it under false names and false pretenses and drilled water wells and pumped the water. They built another reservoir by 1970, another aqueduct going down to L.A. Water wars. We have a water war here that we don't even know, that people don't even know about. A man by the name of Jim Nichols in this area went up and told the people all up and down the Kern County, Kern River, that he wanted to do this, that he wanted to start a water company. He got names, he got signatures, and then he sold all the water rights. Guess to whom? L.A. Water and Power. People over rights. When you drive up Breckenridge Mountain, how many of you have been up Breckenridge? All of that land on the bottom of Breckenridge up there, it's all public land. Jim Nichols got the grass rights. He fenced it and has private guards to guard people off of public lands. Just think about that for a while. With water, there is power. With water, there is power. Water, there is power. The history of water wars. Right out there where we live. At one time, right behind our house, Cindy, you've been out there, just beyond where we were picking up pecans out there in the back with an old fig tree out there, there was a spring out there. There's where Walking Marietta, the real Zorro, used to go water his horses. And from that spring, there was all kinds of people that had rights to it. How many people had rights to that, Marilyn? 4 different families. Yeah. And they would get out there and they'd water their farms and cut them out here. And then my step-grandfather, out there on Weibel Road, right? You know where it's not there now, where the swap meet used to be on Weibel Road? He owned a farm right there.
I think it's Barber, Automotive.
Oh, it's all those things out there now. But he had a farm out there. It was a swap meet out there for a long, long time. He had a farm out there. And Louis was a very aggressive man. He was a chef and he was a farmer. At that time, he was a farmer. And a lot of his families lived here. And they got an argument over ditch water. And it was a very famous story back then. Louis was a very upright citizen and everything else, but you didn't want to mess with him. That man was stealing his water. They got out there in a fight, and Louis beat him to death with a shovel. Over water. Out there where we live, people got in a fight over water. They would shoot. You went out there, they were shooting at each other, weren't they, Marilyn? Even when you were young, they were shooting at each other over water out there. With water comes power. Brother Harry, you have something to say? Yeah. That's right. That Feather River project, the aqueduct that comes down through here. And all of our Kern River water goes into the aqueduct to go to L.A. The Owens Valley was dried up. The whole weather pattern was dried up. It used to rain every night and snow up in the Sierras. The water would transpiration. You know what that is? You teach physical science. Water comes up when you've got trees and vegetation. It puts water back in the air, and every evening you get the clouds up there, and you have little thunderstorms, and water comes, and it just keeps flowing inside. But when you take the water off and move it someplace, what happens? Now Las Vegas is trying to buy all the water in Fish Lake Valley. Not only was the lake dried up, now they're going to try to get their hands on all that water on that side. 26 and verse 20. 26 and verse 20. fool with these machines. 26 and verse 19. Did we finish that one yet? We did finish. 26 and verse 20, the water war. That's the title of this one. Why yar rivu? Ro, garar. Im, ro, ichak, lemor. Lanu, hamayim, wayitra. Shem, ha-ba'er. Ishik, Ki, Hith, Asiku, Imo. All right. And they kept on fighting. The shepherding ones, the sheep herders and the cowboys, the ones of Gerar, the circle area, okay, and with the shepherds of Isaac, saying, all right, saying, name of the well, Isaac, all right, Isaac. What does Isaac mean? All right, quarrel or contention, quarreling, fighting, and warring and contention, because they kept on fighting with him there. All right. They kept on fighting with him there. And here we see all of the water war situation. The water war. All right. 26 and verse 21. How many more pages do you have in your book? Quite a few pages? I have got 2 more little pamphlets that I have to copy so you can put it in yours. It's this thick in mine. It's pretty thick. All right. Wayatcheru ba'er acharet wayarivu raiwatu dam aliha waygikra shema sitna. All right. And they kept on digging and searching for water, okay? Digging and searching for water. Sometimes you can go to an old well and you can revive it by digging a little bit deeper, searching a little deeper. I bought a place in Fish Lake Valley one time, and they had drilled a well there. And the guy that went in there didn't really know what he was doing. He was getting money for drilling wells, but he didn't know what he's doing. Wasn't a very good well driller. And he drilled a well on the property that I had bought there. And when you drill a water well, you use a lot of mud. Sometimes mud, you put bentonite or mud in it. You know, the mud that I told you that guy put in the lake up there, Jim Boyce threw in the lake. You take that, and it picks up all of this trash around it, and it carries the dirt out of it. Well, anyway, he had this bentonite, this mud down in there, but he did not flush the well when he got through drilling the well. He just left the mud in it. Well, when you leave mud in something, it'll just cake up, and it'll just be like cosmetics all over, you know, just like plaster. He plastered. So I bought this place. And a little bit of water would come in this well. I dropped a little. It was only 100 and something feet deep, just about 110 feet deep. Well, I blasted it. I did everything. I shot guns off down in there. I did everything, trying to jar the foundation, set off charges in the ground in there, and then I built a well drilling device. And I went down there searching for water. I'm a machinist a little bit and a welder and all that kind of junk. You know what a hypodermic needle is? Well, I'd heard about suction balers. So I took a tube, a piece of pipe about 4 or 5 inches, and I took a rod and I put in it, and then I put a suction device on it. And I hooked an eye on this thing, and then I put a door on the bottom like this that went shut, and then a door on the side that turned in case I got some great big stuff in there. I took a regular baler, a spade baler, and run up and down. There's a picture of me on the website with me running a cable tool drilling rig. I don't know whether you've ever seen that or not. Anyway, I ran that cable tool drilling rig with that old spade baler. It didn't take anything out. I went down there when I built that suction baler. I went and started pulling the whole formation in it. And when I pulled that thing out about once or twice, running that thing down, and I mean when I got it out of there, I had to beat all the dirt and the trash and everything out of it. I just hooked everything out, including all the bullets I'd shot down there, the primer core and everything else. It all came up. I got about 15, 20 feet and I had water coming in. I had a well. I had a flowing well that was going in standing, but it still didn't. I could turn the water well on and it would run for a little while, and then I had to shut it off because it would run out of the formation. It was so stopped up with that bentonite and the mud, just like a plastered wall. But I drilled enough to where I got water. I'd searched for the water. Searched for the water. Well, it worked. But then I had an earthquake. And the earthquake bit the well like that, and there was the end of that. I abandoned it. Then I filled it in like all of these Philistines did. I had a whole bunch of dirt. I just filled that well in just so nobody could drop something down in it. It would be a little safe. So I filled it in with gravel and everything else. Well, the next time it's going to be a whole lot to take that thing out. It was a 12-inch casing. And they dug another well, and they contended also about it. And they called the name of it Sitnah. The name of it Sitnah. Sitnah, okay? They continued about that one also. Well, do you want to quit there for now this week and go on, start over next week? Is that enough for today, or do you want more? What do you think? Not enough? Want one more verse? All right. 20, 26, 22a and b. All right. Cindy, look up the word 966, Sitnah. Look up that word Sitnah in 966. You're not too far from there. Give you something to do, see? Do you have your students look things up? Huh? Oh, they can't read. They're just mathematicians. They can't read. They can't do math either. You've got a real challenge there, you know. Yeah. Sitnah. 966, Sitnah. All right, starts with a shin. Yeah. A sin. Shin. Sin. Uh-huh. There you go. Adversity. Adversity. Because they had adversity in the land. Adversity and animosity and hatred. All right, adversity. What all the words there? Animosity. Hatred. Hatred. All right? All of those names. That's what comes out of that word Sitnah, because he was having a lot of trouble in the land over the water war. Over the water war. We talked about water wars here. Wayatsik. Bisham. Wayapur. Ba'er. Acharet. Willow. Ravu. Aliha. Wayikra. Shema. Racha Vot. Wyomer. Chi. Ata. Hirachi. And then we come to the word which is for Jehovah, and we call him the Var. Lanu. Yufa Rinu. Ba'aretz. All right. And he departed. And he kept on departing from there. And he dug and he searched, and he dug and he searched. That's what it means there. He dug and he searched, and he dug and he searched for more water, because water is very important. His cattle couldn't live. He couldn't live without water. A well, a flowing well, another, and not. They contended and they fought and they quarreled about it. All right? And he called the name Racha Vot. Rehoboth. All right? Rehoboth. That one's on page 932, Cindy. Page 932. And he kept on saying, truly, or because now has made broad or enlarged Jehovah for us and we may be fruitful in this land. All right, Ba'aretz, in this land. Do you have it there, Cindy? What's it say? He's made enough room in the land for us, broad, spacey, large. He's enlarged the land. So now we have a place to live in the land. All right. 26 and verse 33, and we're going to quit there. 26, 23, that is 26, 23. Vaya'al Misham Ba'er Shava. All right. Be'er Shava. Be'er Sheba. All right. And he went up from there unto a spring of Sheba. The spring of Sheba. The flowing spring of Sheba. Sheba. All right. Be'er Sheba. The spring of the covenant. The spring of the covenant. All right, the spring of the covenant, because he remembered that God had a covenant with him. And we're going to start at 26 and verse 24 next week. 26 and verse 24. And we went from verse 26:10 through 24. We did 14 verses tonight, Cindy. 14 verses. Think I ought to slow down? Well, we got stories. Brother Abe. What? Davar is word. All right. It means, the Hebrew idea in John 1 and 1 and John 1:14 and even the book of Revelation where it comes to the word word, that is a Hebraism which goes back to the name of God, which they referred to him as Davar, the word, or Hashem, the name. All right, or Adonai as a modern Jews. They're not going to say the name. Okay? It means he who shall become. It comes from the Hebrew verb like this, okay? That's a Hebrew verb right there. Haya. That means to become. And he is he who shall become. That's what Jehovah means. He who shall become. The becoming one. John 1:14 is the fulfillment of that. Can anyone quote that in Greek? Cindy? Who can quote John 1:14 in Greek? Marilyn. In Greek. John 1:14. Kai hologos sarx aganeto, and the Word and the Jehovah flesh, he became, middle voice for himself, aorist tense, conciliar in time. Okay? He became flesh. That's beautiful. That's a fulfillment of the Jehovah titles. All right? Kai hologos sarx aganeto. Did you quote that, brother? And Marilyn? All right. Kai hologos sarx aganeto. All right. See? Hey, you've had enough Greek to know that. All right. You can even probably quote Genesis 1 and 1 by now. Cindy, can you quote Genesis 1 and 1? That's very good. We haaretz. Tohu babahu. Anyway, as it goes on. All right. Well, we had fun tonight. Had a good day today. I continue to pray for me that the Lord will keep me on my feet. Unless he wants to put me down, I don't know, I'm falling apart from every end, from one end to the other. Good to have all of you here tonight. Brother Harry, would you dismiss us in prayer, please, brother?